Hello, docs. This is Jason Rozin with Dr. Kevin Connors here to, kind of enlighten to our best ability some peeps on gut health. A brief background on myself: been jockeying supplements and studying, energy medicine, functional medicine. Got into genetics because of Dr. Connors here, and got myself a little bachelor's in integrated medicine. Still studying for my ND. So Dr. Connors, lot deeper, richer history. He's been a chiropractor, been through A4M's cancer programs, been through Archer Daniels Midland's cancer programs, worked strictly almost with cancer and Lyme patients, expert in genetics. I mean, sorry to puff you up, Kev, but people want to hear that kind of thing, and I'm really great to have you here and to talk about the 101 stuff, the gut.
Yeah, yeah, I think these are going to be good. I think there's a lot of kind of canned information out there with the gut that can be misleading and can be actually harmful to your patients if you don't know some of the details. And I think a lot of the doctors are like, oh, I don't want to learn all this genetic stuff. It's just like going back to school. And I could feel your pain there.
Yep,
Um,
I'm looking at my
but
pathway planner right now, and I'm a little overwhelmed. So,
Yeah, it's overwhelming, and it really is. And I understand that a lot of doctors just don't have the time to take to really dig into it. So we're going to try to go through this and make it easy. And you're going to see a contact number at the end of these slides. And Jason, I can't see the slide, so you're just going to walk me through them.
yep, okay,
You're going to see a contact number for Jason at the end of these slides. He'll gladly help you, and you'll see a contact number for me at the end of these. And we'll give it on all of our webinars. We're going to do a whole bunch of webinars. So we'll give you our contact numbers. Feel free to call either one of us. I think I'm speaking for you. Sorry, Jason, but I think,
yep, it's okay. You
you
see the
contact
slides
us.
now?
Um,
No,
let's see.
it's okay. Let's
Yeah,
just keep going.
yes, I do. I
All
do.
right.
I do. So,
I
um,
apologize, ladies and gentlemen.
and contact us because it is confusing. I understand that, and just ask us, and we'll gladly help you with
Both
a
of us.
case if you
That's
need
what
to.
we're here
Yep,
for. We're here to consult doctors.
yep. So we just want people to get better and you to be the best doctor that you can possibly be. That's what this is all
And
about. So,
ultimately, to simplify your practice and realize that less is more. And, you've told me since the day I met you back in my PRL days that you're like, Jason, you don't need to have so many supplements. You can do so much more with so much less. And that's, I think, why I was so attracted to working with you. And I think you'd agree.
well, and partly it's for the patient's basis too, because if you recommend too much, you know that they just won't do it.
Compliance is gone.
Uh, Yeah. So, I mean, you could be the best doctor in the world and you could make the best recommendations in the world. If the patient doesn't do it, what good is it? It didn't help anybody.
Nothing. Or it made them sacrifice their entire life to their protocol that they can't even spend time with their family. And what good does that do?
Right.
All right.
Doesn't help anybody.
All right. So
All
the
right. Well,
gut.
let's
We're
jump into
back to the gut.
this. The
Let's
gut.
jump in. Yeah. Let's jump into the gut. Well, actually, we already know what damages the gut, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, my biggest thing that I
yeah.
tell patients is your GMOs, antibiotic use. I mean, you can't drink a glass of water without probably consuming antibiotics. And so
You
you're
can't eat
always,
anything without possibly consuming antibiotics, can you?
yeah. I
Other
mean,
than something you
everybody's got a
fermented.
damaged gut.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go into the slides of gut dysbiosis and all this kind of. I mean, it's just a given. All your patients have damaged guts. I mean, period. There's just that's a given.
Well, one of the things that I always enjoy talking about is the overuse of glutamine in gut healing products, and how it's to me it's almost like used like a quick fix, like allopathic remedy, but the long term damage could be huge, especially dealing with something you deal with, is which is cancer. Could you touch on that, please?
So yeah, well, glutamine is an amino acid, right? So L-glutamine, it's very well known that it can really help heal the small intestinal um, permeability issues. The problem with glutamine is that glutamine can feed cancer. So cancers feed on glucose. Yeah, they do. Yes, you should stop eating sugar. But depending on what genetic defects a person has, the cancer can feed much more on glutamine and methionine than on lactic acid. So it is imperative that you doctors who are treating patients, maybe chiropractically and trying to do some nutrition, or naturopathically and trying to do some nutrition. If they have a cancer patient, you don't ever give cancer patients glutamine. That should be golden rule number one.
Or even
Um,
like one of these thyroid doctors that have learned how to actually palpate the thyroid, and they catch that nodule. They're quick to like just put these people on a gut healing protocol, and I think that's pause for like,
well,
be
the
smart,
problem
cover
is,
your own, you know what, and send them out for like a scan and make sure. Because like you said, if you gave that patient glutamine and they have that nodule and it may not have been cancerous, I mean, what could happen in a short period of time if you put them on a high glutamine diet?
it's very, very dangerous. So, in most of the canned products out there, the gut healing products out there contain glutamine. Here's another side note, and I was going to make a slide presentation on this. Is the big thing is GAPS-like diet with bone broth. Well, bone broth contains an enormous amount of glutamine.
Glutamine, yep.
I mean, that's why bone broth can be healing to the gut, but bone broth can be a gasoline on a cancer. So you do not give your cancer patients bone broth, nor do you give them glutamine, nor do you put them on a diet that would potentially be a high glutamine diet, especially if they have some specific genetic defects. So
Let's
that's
talk
what you
about
want to look. Okay, so let's talk about what? The genetic
the
defects?
specific defects to look out for. I mean, most of our docs are. We don't want to freak them out, like thinking every patient they have has cancer. Obviously, most people don't. But what are some of the things they can look for if they're running that oats test to be sure not to give that
Uh,
patient glutamine?
Well, if they have any, there's a lot of different things on the oats test that you'll want to look for. From the genetic standpoint, if you're running 23andMe genetic tests on people, the ASNS gene is an indication that the patient's cancer may be fueled off of glutamine. So if they have defects in the ASNS, which is one of the most common gene defects with breast cancers, some colon cancers, um, some lung cancers, you want to look for that gene. 23andMe reads that gene. If they have defects in the KRAS genes, which is the pathway, the
Yep.
RAS pathway, um, that's a molecular on-off switch for cell growth, cell replication. They'll have upregulated GLUT1 genes for glucose transport, and it contributes to the Warburg effect. And so putting a person on a high glutamine diet, that's a tough one because if they have a lot of KRAS genes, they have to be on a keto-like diet and a low glutamine diet, which are kind of opposing one another.
That
So you have
reminds
to
me
get
of
kind
like
of
a
creative.
TH1 or a TH2 dominant patient that needs green tea.
Yeah, that's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
Um, but you got to be specific. You can't just, I mean, I get this all the time with cancer is that, oh, I got cancer, so I went on a ketogenic diet.
Oh,
Hold on, time out here.
this could be
Um,
big, big bit of a problem.
it could be really bad. So you have to know these little intricacies, or you could be hurting the patient, or the patient could be hurting themselves if they're choosing a specific protocol. So really
What's
important.
what I love so much about working with you is just learning the details. I mean, every single patient is so unique, and I mean, we love our muscle testing, but I mean, these new genetic testing it's really kind of level the playing field, I believe, and um, it's really helping us give people more personalized care and letting us know that, like you said, there is no canned approach to anything.
Well, there isn't. And the nice thing about the genetic testing and such is that, you don't have to have 20 years of skilled muscle testing to know what to give the person. And then Are you getting practitioner biases in that testing, et cetera, et cetera? I used to teach kinesiology classes, and
Yep.
I think you came to a couple of them. Remember,
Very
it's
much
it's
so.
hard to teach a doctor who's been practicing for 20 years to learn another skill like that. That is a high touch, high, art of form in its skill. Whereas here's some details about what you can run on a test, like a 23andMe test, and here's some genes that you can look for that can give you some indications of what diet to use. So if you can switch slides, Jason, to that next slide
Yeah.
about where it has, or the one after that one,
Sorry.
where it has some of the
We kind
genetic.
of got a little bit ahead of ourselves. Sorry, ladies and gents.
Yeah, well,
But we are merging the left and the right brain at this point. So
that's right. You want to look at some different things that can cause inflammation in the gut. And one is going to be genetics. We'll talk about it the next slide, but this is another one on this slide about food sensitivity. So, you need to be running food sensitivity panels on a person
well,
because if
what's
they
your
have,
favorite? I mean, not to name names, but like so many people have questions about food antibodies and are they valid and what's the time of the day and what's the mood of the patient. Uh, what's your opinion on those?
well, I mean, the truth is that, so let's get back to immunology 101. So if you have antibodies to um, of anything that's in your gut or anything that could potentially be in your gut. Every time that thing is in your gut, your immune system is going to fire a reaction to it. So, and
Forever,
when I,
if it goes TH2, right?
well, every time that thing is in your gut. So let's say on this slide that you have right up here is I'll name the lab. It's obviously everybody who knows Cyrex will see that that's a Cyrex test.
Right.
Um, so this measures food antibodies, and this particular person has antibodies to casein, has antibodies to whey protein, and the red ones are higher in the range, that they better stay off of all those. And I tell people to stay off all the red and the
Right.
yellow, and then they can slowly introduce the yellow back in. But they have antibodies to that particular food. So let's use whey protein as this example. So if you're going to consume whey protein, you are going to fire an immune response. And when I say fire an immune response, that means you are going to fire a Th1 cytokine response. Your Th1 side, your immediate side of your immune system is going to fire. That's the militant, that's the Marine Corps out to try to kill that thing. And whey protein, last I checked, won't die. So it's just going to
Nor any
cause
heavy
it.
metal or nor anything on this
That's
list.
right. Yeah. It's not living. So your Marine Corps, your immune system was only supposed to kill things. That is pathogens,
Well,
bacteria,
the
viruses, etc.
proteins have not been digested, have they?
No. So we could talk forever on why you develop these antibodies to these things, but we don't want to get too deep into that and bore everybody to death, but
Or
you did.
biofilms or quorum sensing or any of that cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll save
So,
that.
but the truth is that person has antibodies to those foods. So if they eat those foods, they're going to fire an immune response and they're going to cause more inflammation and they're going to cause more gut damage. So if you have a person and you're going to give them a gut product, even one that you or I may recommend, and you don't address heavy metal toxicities in their gut, you don't address antibodies to foods that they're eating in their gut, you don't address that they're eating GMO foods, you don't address that they're, anything that's potentially damaging their gut. If they continue to do that, it's like drinking poison and then trying to support liver detox pathways at the same time. It's a losing battle.
I
You're not
totally
going to win.
agree. And even more so, like the stuff that we will give a patient potentially will further stimulate their immune system and make it worse.
Yeah, could make it even worse. So this is where you got these difficult patients that you do, quote unquote, all the right stuff that the guy at the seminar told you to give them, of course, selling their product, and they don't get better. Well, did you address all the things that could cause inflammation and are damaging the gut? Did you get rid of the things that are doing the damage? It's like hitting your head with a hammer and taking Tylenol to take care of the pain. I mean, if you don't stop hitting your head with a hammer, you're not going to,
Tylenol is eventually not going to work, is it?
no, that's not going to work.
You got
So,
to stop the hammer.
yes,
But
so
then
you got to
you
stop
have
the
to
hammer.
stop the hand that's hammering the hammer.
Yes, that's right. So looking at causes is super important.
Well,
And
that's
the
your eight
problem
man
is
baby.
these tests can be costly, and you got a patient that doesn't want to spend the money to run the test, and well, then you're going to have to make some decisions as a practitioner to take them off of all the major possible foods that would cause sensitivity. The problem is it's very difficult. I mean, are you going to take a person off of corn and egg and teff and coffee and oats and whey protein and casein without having a test like that? They're not going to adhere to it.
They would
You know,
never listen to you in a single moment.
no. I mean, you have to
And you
me,
have
you
to not
have to
only
have
show
it.
this to them, you have to show it to their personal care or their
Yeah.
spouse or whatever. I mean,
Well, and it gets even harder if you're dealing with a
yeah.
child and you're dealing with a child of a couple who are split and now the dad has them on the weekend and doesn't agree with what the mom's. It's to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But if
Well,
you have the
it's just crazy. We have absolute evidence for a problem that you could potentially fix, but the fix is so difficult that modern day society has made it such that it causes a massive inconvenience on someone to even do it.
well, it is, but you got to face the facts that you, the people are addicted to foods. It's literally an addiction. We are a society
That's what I was trying to address.
addicted to food. Yeah, and it's like okay, then it's I mean it
How
gets
do I
down to it.
dare give up coffee? How do I dare give up sugar? How do I dare give up this?
Well, maybe that's why I like to only treat cancer in really, really sick Lyme patients
Yeah.
because they'll
Anyway,
do what I tell them
we're
to
getting
do.
off. We're getting off. We're getting off the gut here. I apologize, but we're doing well on it. So, okay, going back to the gut. Um, we've obviously addressed the sensitivities and the things that need to actually be absolutely addressed. But we haven't talked about a couple of really important things. Like, what do you think about SIBO and prebiotics?
Okay. Well, go to the next slide once. So this is where you start to get into some deeper things with the person's genes. So when you talk about SIBO, um, you're talking about dysbiosis of the different organisms in that person's gut. Not only do they have less organisms that they're supposed to have, but they have an imbalance in the organisms, right?
Massive, which creates
Mm.
what?
Which creates an imbalance in the ability for the body to absorb nutrients and unhealthy competition. And when you're dealing with like chronic Lyme, the part of the problem with chronic Lyme and chronic H. pylori and things um, that could cause, death to a person, um, these organisms can actually morph their frequencies and morph
Called
their
quorum
DNA
sensing, by the way.
in order to hide and replicate normal normal flora of your gut so your immune system doesn't even recognize it.
And
All
people
they're
are
trying to
now
do is
calling
stay
it
alive.
LPS and biofilms, yet we've known this stuff all along.
Yeah. So you
How does
have
a
to look
how does
at,
a macrophage track anything that has an LPS around it that's a certain diameter? It can't. It just it loses the sense or the signaling. How do we explain that? I mean that just comes down to
it's,
basic signaling. I mean the
yes,
macrophage is signaled by something. It's the DNA deck or the DNA gene deck, and it's just like you said,
it gets complicated and
it
it
does.
gets difficult to deal with these patients. So You have to reduce any sources of inflammation that are present. You have to, and so this is another piece of inflammation. So this ABP1 gene that you would look at, that you're seeing on the screen right now, this person has no defects in those genes. But these ABP1 genes make the DAO enzyme that break down histamine that you consume. So you have two genes that break down histamine in your body. So remember, histamine is an immune cytokine. Okay, it's made by the mast cells in your body, and it's also consumed. It's in a lot of different foods. But you shouldn't have a problem because you should have genes that look like this person's, that ABP1 gene. They have no defects on that gene. They make plenty of DAO enzymes, so they eat some nuts that have a lot of histamines or eggs that have a lot of histamines, and they make a lot of DAO enzyme and they break it down and they don't absorb it and they discharge it into the toilet. So they don't have an issue with breaking down histamines. But if a person, so here's another little caveat here. So I took the person off of, I did a Cyrex test. I took them off of all the foods they needed to go off of, and they're staying strict to their diet. I'm doing everything right, but I still have this difficult patient because I can't get them better. You have to look at other things that can cause inflammation in the gut. So histamine and oxalates are two other things that could cause inflammation of the gut. So this person doesn't have a histamine issue, but this person does have an oxalate issue. So oxalates are in a whole bunch of really good foods, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're not supposed to absorb oxalates because you make an enzyme that breaks them down and you dump them into the toilet. So when you don't make that enzyme, that can cause inflammation of the gut. You could absorb it. You're at a high risk for excreting it into the kidneys. That's what causes calcium oxalate crystals or kidney stones in your kidneys. So when a person has a lot of oxalate gene defects, they're at a higher risk for gut inflammation. They're at a higher risk for kidney stones. So these are just...
take that back to, like you said, H. pylori, which could morph into nanobacteria, which can damage the kidneys and create further calcium and create those calcium oxalate.
And not just the kidneys, but the heart.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
well, the heart, spleen, pancreas, cause blood sugar issues. Yeah. We haven't even got into it. We're still in 101. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we'll have H. pylori ones too here.
Yeah, we will.
So next slide talks about the FUT2 genes, if I remember, and the BCMO genes. So the BCMO genes are what break down and help you utilize beta carotene. And beta carotene, well, why do you talk about beta carotene with the gut? Well, beta carotene is essential for all epithelial tissue. So remember, from your fetal cell lines, your epithelial cell line is what makes up the lining of your gut, the lining of your arteries, all your organs. So beta carotene is essential for healing the gut. What's that?
I said it needs a lot of vitamin C.
Yep. So that's very important. So that's another gene to look at when you look at gut health. The FUT2 gene is a super important gene because this is how you utilize and create butyrate for the large intestine. So especially when you have dysbiosis that you touched on earlier, you have to look at butyrate issues and the person's ability to make butyrate. Yep. So the FUT2 genes are super important, and I see a lot of really sick people in my practice, and almost every one of them have butyrate FUT2 gene defects. Some of these genes that you look at, obviously there's a family of genes, and if you don't know how to read genetics, if there's a blank behind it, that means you don't have any defect. If there's a 1, you have a single allele defect. If there's a 2, you have a double allele defect. In these gene families, some genes are more weighted than the other. In the FUT2 genes, the top 3 and the bottom 3 are the most weighted, meaning they have the most research on them, that they are the most important of those genes. And like this person has defects on all the top 3 and all the bottom 3. I mean, this person you're definitely going to have gut problems. So supporting butyrate function, and you mentioned, Jason, prebiotics. This FUT2 gene is your prebiotic red flag in genetics. This person really needs a
Looks
lot of
like they need some
prebiotic
serious
support.
prebiotics. Well, what's the other one that you were telling me about, like mucosal membrane gene that like desperately needs like a fiber or a mucosal membrane protector?
Well, part of it's the BCMO gene, and yeah, we could go on and on with genes. I think I didn't put them in any of the other ones in the slide
That's all right.
presentation, though.
We'll just let it go. This is slide one, and our ultimate goal here is to not promote product, but just to tell you guys why this wonderful man and I have like decided to discuss things and try to, I guess, just make better products or give
Well, we
better
developed this
solutions.
product, what,
Yeah,
about a year ago,
yeah,
probably?
probably actually
Uh,
2 years ago, Kevin.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
time flies.
I know. It's
I think I probably put almost every one of my cancer patients on this product. I'd say 99% of my cancer patients, because really I developed it and I helped you develop it.
You did. It was yeah. It was
Um,
a.
but
I
I had it.
I brought an idea to you, and you helped me morph it into like something that we wanted to create. Like you said, that wasn't glutamine based. That wasn't like a typical approach that was canned. That was could potentially hurt someone. We try to be very careful in the ingredients we put in this. That regardless, and knowing that people are going to go for a canned approach, regardless of what they do, if they took this product, they weren't potentially going to hurt themselves. They're going to only potentially greatly benefit themselves for many
And I get
reasons.
that exact question from a lot of my cancer patients. They'll say, well, I'm on this, my husband has this issue, my son has this issue. Could he take that sun spectrum too? And the answer is everybody could use the sun spectrum.
And
Um,
yeah, you don't even have to worry about it.
because the way we designed it is that, okay, you have to decrease inflammation in the gut. So again, if you just take the sun spectrum and you don't deal with food sensitivities, you don't deal with possible histamine issues, you don't deal with heavy metal toxicities, you don't deal with other dysbiosis issues, it's not going to be a panacea. It's not going to solve your problem, right? So you have to deal with all those other issues. But this was specifically designed to help the FUT2 and the BCMO genes, and to decrease inflammation and to support the healing of the gut cells. So,
Rather,
um,
whatever decision you make. And it's only going to further enhance if you decide to change your lifestyle, correct?
absolutely, that's right. You have to work on the lifestyle changes as well, but this is going to be a big help. And there's other gut products out there that, wait a second, I have this gut product that has licorice root and marshmallow and glutamine and all these things. It's like, okay, all those things can be issues with autoimmune patients and with cancer patients. So we wanted to make one that was going to be fine for autoimmune patients and fine for cancer patients, and that's how this got birthed.
Just completely neutral to it all. And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you helping me. All I did, ladies and gentlemen, is come to this man with an idea, and I'm like,
But Jason, you're being way too nice. I came to you and you said we should make a product for the gut. And I said, this is what I really want. And you said, well, let's do it. You did all the work and I got the credit and you're giving me the credit for it.
well,
So
let's
it's
not
just not
forget that
fair.
every idea I bounced off you, and I didn't have the science to know what to put into it. But at the end, there's a lot to this product, more than what we did put into it. But it was something we put a lot of effort into, and I hope you guys feel that. And I mean, what else can
Well,
you say, Kevin?
the other thing that we had in mind with this product was that people are taking a probiotic. People are trying to take a prebiotic. People are trying to take gut healing products. People are trying to take anti-inflammatory products. And again, you get down to the point of the patient's taking four things, and how much does that cost them? I always look at that too. I mean, I don't right now in my life have an issue with paying for a product, but there was lots of times in my life I was a missionary and we didn't have 2 cents to rub together, and the cost of a product made a huge difference. So I'm sensitive to people in different areas of their life. The cost of this product is 4 products wrapped in one. It's much less expensive for the patient.
I totally
So,
agree. We put a lot of effort, again, like Kevin said, to make one dose last you a day, and that's just what we did. So we love you, docs, and we are about to say goodnight to webinar number
we'll
one.
put that last slide up so that they can contact us if they need so. And I'm open to doctor questions if you guys have questions. Um, we didn't even talk about the enzymes. We'll do that next time.
Oh, sorry, we'll do that
And
next time.
but
That's all right. We
contact
just
us.
like talking peeps, and I know that's what you guys like. So
Well, that's what we want these webinars to be, and we're going to open them up to questions as we get better at doing them too.
yep,
So,
we will. We'll do a Q&A soon. All right, thanks so much.
all right.
We should have.
Did you turn it off already?
Hold on, sorry.